couple minutes of your time this morning. Just want to do a quick little history lesson. It's a common idea that if you look at history, you can prepare for the present and for the future. With that idea in mind, I'd like to take a look at the Depression of the 1930s and FDR's plans compared with the current recession and Barack Obama's plans. In order to fully understand the Depression, we have to take a look at the events that led up to it, commonly referred to as the Roaring Twenties. The 1920s were a time of prosperity in America. There was a lot of technological developments. In particular, the automobile had become a household item. People were purchasing it mainly because it was now affordable due to the development of the assembly line. Another major household item was the radio, which provided entertainment, and the film industry was beginning to develop, which provided cheap entertainment. All of this added to the economic boom of the 1920s. On the credit side of things, installment payments were a new concept. This allowed people to purchase things that they had not necessarily saved up for by making small monthly payments. This was a new concept that to some extent allowed people to overextend themselves financially, which led to kind of a slumping economy towards the end of the 1920s, particularly 1929. By that point in time, the housing market had began to slow, manufacturing was down, and ultimately the stock market crashes of October 1929 were the beginning of the Great Depression. One of the major things leading up to the stock market crashes was the purchases of stock on margin. And margin is where an investor purchases stock on credit. They say pay 50% of what stock they're purchasing and intend to pay the other 50% with their earnings. However, as the markets crashed and as the stocks lowered, there was no earnings to pay back their credit. And this created economic havoc. By the time FDR had taken office in 1933, the Great Depression was in full swing. Unemployment was at 25% in manufacturing communities and even higher in rural farming communities. Farming communities also were facing a severe drought and huge decreases in crop prices. On the banking side of things, many banks had closed, gone under, and many others were frozen by local governments or state governments. People were not able to access their deposits. Their accounts were completely frozen. A good example of this is a quote by Richard Norton Smith in Time magazine that says, "By the time Franklin Roosevelt reached Washington on the evening of March 2nd, local hotels were refusing to accept out-of-state checks. Eleanor wondered how